Hi, my name is Ben Bilesman. I work at the Food Innovation Center, which is a part of Kalamazoo Valley Community College. Today we're going to be talking about some season extension techniques. We're located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Our typical frost-free growing season here is from around the middle of May until early October. By using some season extension techniques, we can extend that by a couple weeks on each end, if conditions allow. We're looking with our season extension techniques to bend the seasons. We're not looking to break them. We can shift them slightly, but we can't totally ignore them. We still have to take into account outside temperature, environmental factors, and how long the days are. To better understand season extension, we're going to talk about heat energy and how it moves. Heat energy moves via three processes. It moves via conduction, which is the transfer of heat energy from one object to another. So right now heat energy is transferring from my finger to the whiteboard. It transfers via convection, which is using air to move. A convection oven heats the air, which heats the item you're cooking inside of it. And radiation is the heat waves that all things in the universe give off. Our job using season extension is to slow the loss of heat energy from our plants. The simplest method to do season extension in your garden is by using a sprinkler. Coating the leaves of the plants in your garden with water will allow the heat energy from the water to be removed first by the cold air before you begin losing heat from your leaves inside there. This does not work when the temperature drops too low, as then all of the water around the leaf freezes, which can both cause cold damage but also physical damage if you're dealing with trees. This is sometimes used in orchards on nights where there's a frost advisory, but not if there's going to be a heavy freeze because the weight of the ice would then destroy their trees. A way to do it using a small structure is by creating a low hoop over top of your plants. This prevents the cold air from coming directly in contact with your leaves and allows the heat energy in the ground as it comes up to come and push against that cold air. This is a way, again, to extend the season, not to break the season. We're just bending the rules slightly by adding a structure. Next, we're going to look at a couple different examples we have set up. So as we talked about inside, to provide coverage for the plants to extend your season, you need a structure to support the fabric, and then you need the covering itself. We have this fabric called Agribond. It's kind of a gauzy material that some air and water can move through, but it keeps most of the wind off. And we have peppers here underneath. We're using the peppers themselves as a structure because we don't care about the leaves at the very top of the plant. Those will never produce fruit from us, but it creates a structure that as the gauze sits on top of it, it'll keep the fabric off the fruit, which is what we especially want to make sure it doesn't become touched by the frost. Over here we have a tropical flower called butterfly pea that's used for making food dye. To cover this, we pounded stakes into the ground, used PVC T connectors with pipe running across, and then we just ran the same fabric back and forth to make a tent that the butterfly pea could still live within. Because it's growing on a trellis, so it would have been very difficult to cover without having it come in contact with the plants on the trellis along this whole length. We have our artichokes here. To provide structure here, our structure are concrete blocks here that we intermingled with the artichokes. For the artichokes, we're less concerned about the top of the leaves and we're more concerned with the crown of the plants down at the ground. So these bricks provide us a space where we can set the sandbags on top, which will hold the fabric tight without compressing it down on the bottom, compressing the crown of the plants. So here we have a bed. This is just for demonstration purposes. We don't need to save the rice stalks from before. But we have these metal conduit pieces. It's half-inch conduit that we bent earlier to use for covering these beds. And we can use that to create a structure over top of it. You could even take them and just bend them in half and use it to make a more sharp angle. And this is not terribly strong yet, but you can push them in further. And it could be used to hold up a bed sheet. You could take a tarp that you use for leaves in the fall, cover it up.
Just something to keep the air off of it, like we said before. Another option for supporting structure would be tomato cages. You just want to think about what are things that you have that are somewhat rigid that could keep the fabric or other covering material off of your plants in order to create the structure to keep your plants enclosed on those coldest nights. We have some peppers here we want to save. We already had 4 posts on this raised bed to hold the wire up that protected it from the deer. So I used that with this ground cloth, and I just wrapped the fabric around it using pieces of twine to push through the fabric and tie it to the post, which kept the cold wind from blowing across the peppers themselves. It helped trap the heat that already existed inside that space. The frost we had was going to be barely a frost, and so I didn't worry about sealing up the top. Just enclosing it so that the air couldn't get in was good enough. The concept stays the same, but the materials you use can vary dramatically. Be creative, use what you have around you. You don't necessarily have to go out to the store and buy new stuff. You have probably fabric lying around. You probably have something that's rigid that can provide a structure. A kid's small art and craft table can be the base for a tent. Just think about it, look at the world around you, and reduce, reuse, recycle, right? All right, have a great day.